Hi, I'm Lee, your host for the Portable Appliance Testing Trade Association's podcast. So welcome to another PATTA podcast, and we've got another guest in today. So please do tell our listeners what your name is and your role in PATTA.
My name is Richard, and I am the Operations Director and founder of PATTA.
Brilliant stuff. And how long's PATTA been going now?
Been going quite a long time. I'm trying to think, when did we start?
2019, was it?
2018, 2019,
Yeah.
something like that. I can't remember. We started originally in 2013, I think it was.
Was that the
As a PATTA
PTN,
testing
wasn't
network.
it? Yeah.
So we started as PATTA testing network, and then that grew quite nicely, but it was never taken seriously because it became known as a bit of a drinking club, really. It was
It was a good social event.
It was a social life, and that's what it was. It was a social event. We tried to do stuff. It was more of a social life, but we wanted to take it further, and we were trying to get to go to meetings and get in with government and things like that, and we struggled. And then one day, somebody basically said to us, "If you're an association, if you'd change your name, you'd have more success." So we changed to PATTA, the Portable Appliance Testing Trade Association. And as soon as we changed that, instantly, the doors that were previously shut were opening, and we were being invited. And in the first couple of years, we went to loads of different events, loads of different meetings. We met in governments.
So you and Tim had this conversation, 2017 then, was it? And then said...
It's pretty about that, yeah. We moved quite quick, really. Once we knew what we wanted to do, we went for it and did it. We knew we had to move quickly because we wanted to ensure we were involved in the new code of practice when that was coming. It was around the Grenfell time.
Right.
I think. I can't remember if we started it just before that happened or if just after it happened, because we actually, Tim was on a panel discussing the fallout of Grenfell at one point.
Yeah. Tragedy at Grenfell.
Yeah. So we're involved in that. We're involved in various government and parliamentary meetings.
That's great. So ever since then, the membership, as I understand, has just grown year on year, hasn't it?
It has. It's just gradually grown, organically grown. We haven't really pushed it out there too much.
Yeah. I think the last figures we discussed, I think there's around about 160. Is that still the case?
It's about that, yeah.
Yeah,
it's about that.
Excellent.
Which I think is brilliant. I'm happy with that. It was always about just bringing people together who need a bit of support or a bit of help or want to help others just because there's nothing else there really for the industry.
No, I mean, having that, I've noticed having that unbiased advice, especially on Facebook, where you suddenly get a keyboard warrior saying, "Oh, you don't do it like this." It's actually, no, well, you can do it like this. It's just a different option. And that's what I think PATTA's trying to do, is just say, well, actually, here's your options. You can do this, as opposed to you have to do it like this and that's it.
Yeah, it is. We try to be more everything simple, no fuss, no faffing around. We're not into jargon and things like that. Me as a person, I'm very laid back, very relaxed. I don't want to get into confrontation. I don't want to get into arguments with people.
Sure, yeah. I don't think
but I'm also quite straight talking as well, which sometimes gets us into trouble. But it's never done maliciously.
Yeah.
But the whole point of PATTA is, if you, a lot of what we do is done on Facebook, but you want to be able to just ask a question and get an answer.
Exactly.
And you don't want to be shouted at or told you're an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what we try and stamp out.
You can't know,
Facebook.
Nobody's an expert in anything. You can't know everything. You need help.
Yeah.
And when you're in an industry where the training's minimal, you haven't done a degree or an apprenticeship. You need help. So if we can provide the help,
there's no
shame
great in asking, is there at all?
No, not at all.
No, thanks for that. Richard, what's the main change that you've seen since you started PATTA with Tim?
I think it's two main changes. I think one is the people involved and the help that is, and two would be, it's just gone from your head, so we'll come back to that. To the first one, when we started PATTA, it was just the two of us, but I'd said at the time, Tim and I don't have the time to do everything that needed to be done.
Yeah.
And as time's gone on, that's been proven. So what we said quite early on was we wanted help from other people. We wanted other members to get involved as well. And then you use the collective to try and do what you want to do.
So having those volunteers is quite important for you guys to help steer it.
Yeah, so we had 5 or 6 people originally.
Yeah.
Who helped us a lot, and I think we're on 4 or 5 now. Sorry, can't remember the numbers. I think it's 4.
Well, we've got Steve, Chris, Liam,
Lee,
me,
Ben.
Yeah.
So 7 of us now, and that helps invaluable. What you learn is in every meeting we have, every discussion we have all these plans, and we have these huge plans. But what we know is that everybody doesn't have the time to do everything we want to do. So what we've done is, between us, we've kind of worked out, and it might take a while, but we've worked out what we can do and what we can't do. So now we have a clear plan and a clear path based on not putting too much pressure on ourselves to do stuff that we don't have time to do. And really where we started as something to provide support and help, and then we wanted to do more, but we realised we haven't got time to do that, so we've gone back to what we originally said.
Volunteers can only give a certain amount of time, can't they?
Yeah, exactly. So it is about help. We could, in theory, take PATTA to a whole new level and do all the things we want to do, but we'd have to charge hundreds of pounds to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it would work like that.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's steady increases, isn't it, as you go forward. It's all relative, isn't it, at the end of the day? So the more we can offer the members, there might have to be that small increase as well.
Yeah.
But actually, the volunteers, not getting paid for it, but they're actually giving their all to help maintain that, to keep the prices down.
Exactly.
I mean, you could always go on to other trade associations out there, not naming any names, and pay hundreds of pounds, and I mean, we're talking 600 plus, can't you?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I remember of other associations, and I pay a lot more for this. For them, hundreds of pounds for them, and I get nothing at all from them.
Yeah.
In PATTA, you pay 75 quid, and you get
so much support.
You got wealth. You got 150 odd people who can help you. Some of them are brand new. They may not have that experience, but everybody has life experience, and I think in this job, or any job when you run a business, life experience is something more important than what you're actually doing in the first place, because you need that support network, that business support network to help you grow your own
going
business.
Back on what we've said then, the change that you've seen is basically the growth of PATTA and where it's come from and where it's going to.
Yeah, exactly. That's the group, well put.
When and what got you into pack testing in the first place?
Okay, it's a long story. Get ready for this.
Here we go.
So in the late 90s, my uncle got laid off from working for the water company. He worked in IT for the water company, and he was severely disabled, and he needed a job. And he was in his 50s, and nobody would take him on. He didn't have many skills. He didn't have many qualifications, things like that. So he had a background of interest in electronics and things like that, and he decided he was going to try a PATTA testing. Not many people did it at the time. He got a big machine, big yellow machine.
Yeah,
you'll know it, big yellow box.
Probably a Robin.
Got one of them.
Yeah.
And he started doing it. Just learned himself how to do it and started doing it. And he got all these jobs for like local councils and things like that. And it was still in the days where they would literally put everything in a room for you, and you just go along a table and test everything. And he was so for him that worked out perfectly. But that was in the days where he used to charge like £5 a night and stuff.
The good old days.
And for him it was brilliant. He'd go and do 3 hours work, get enough money to go to the pub on a night, and he was happy.
Perfect.
And when he died in 2000, his mother, because he didn't have any family, his mother was my nana, said to me, "Do you want to take on the business?"
Oh wow.
And at the time, I said, "No, no way," because I'd done a little bit of work. I'd helped them out on a few jobs and stuff like that. I said, "No." At the time, I was working for Barclays Bank, and I had quite a cushy little job, and I was quite comfortable and earning good money. And I was a bit born idle as well. And I had no interest in giving up this easy job for what would potentially be a harder job. So, so that was that. And I thought nothing of it. That was 2000. I thought nothing of it. And then 2008, we had obviously the bank crash with Northern Rock and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and banking changed completely. And, you know, it went from overnight from being rewarded for doing something to actually being disciplined for doing exactly the same thing the next day and stuff like that.
Oh,
And it was horrible. It was horrible. It was an awful time. So in 2009, I got out. Somewhere in 2009, I left banking. But I was like, I don't know what to do. So then somebody suggested PAT testing. So remember, you could have done it then.
Yeah.
Why didn't you have another go? So I thought, okay. And then at the same time, I had a mate of mine who'd done a backdoor electrician's course a few months earlier. He'd gone off to Manchester and done 6 weeks and become an electrician.
Oh, okay.
And he'd set up an electrical company doing installation work and CCTV and things like that. And I'd done a bit of work, did a bit of work with him and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, I'm going to do this. So I didn't want to do an electrician's course really, but I wanted to get some knowledge. So I enrolled on some courses. I booked in for PAT testing, 17th edition at the time, and Part P.
Okay.
And I did them all back to back in the same training company in Sunderland. And I did it with a guy. The guy who coached the course is quite a well-known electrical guy. He was quite high up in the NIC for a while. He was an inspector and things like that. And then as he was retiring, he became a coach. And he kind of took me through it. And he kind of took us under his wing a bit, because I was doing my course with a bunch of guys from Sunderland Council, a bunch of electricians from Sunderland Council. And he took me on board and kind of helped me through that. And at the end of those couple of weeks, I was actually the only person that passed all 3 parts of the course. Okay. And I was the only person that wasn't a practicing electrician. Okay. So I did quite well out of that. And so then that's how I got into PAT testing and set up from there.
Yeah.
But I actually set up doing electrical maintenance.
Okay.
PAT testing.
Yeah.
But my first proper job, I realised I didn't know anything about electrical. I took a light fitting off a wall in the bathroom, like a shaving light thing, off a wall, and then had no idea how to put a new one back on. It was like a replacement one. I had no idea how to do it.
So
I had to bring an electrician mate and saying, come and get me out of this shit.
Yeah, you learn at a very early stage your competency level.
Yeah. So quite early on, I was like, yes, good. I'm not an electrician. I can do the PAT testing. So I just stopped doing the electrical side of it and just concentrated on the PAT testing. And from that point on, it just took off. Yeah.
Do you remember your first job as a PAT tester? Your very first PAT testing?
Well, my very first job was for a family friend who owned the building company. So I went and did some of I did his office, some computers and things like that. But I also did like drills and 110 transformers and things like that. I mean, I only tested 3 or 4 plugs in the kettle and something like that at that point, and I was doing 110 transformers and stuff. And he was having to tell us what they were.
All right.
You know, I was learning on the job.
Yeah.
The first proper job was the local doctor's surgery. You know, it took me about 3 days to do like a 10-room doctor's surgery.
See, I find even today that I can go into a business and I still have to ask them. I know what class it is, but how do you describe it? What is the machine? I ain't got a Scooby.
I went and did a job the other day, and it was a big industrial red thing sitting in the parking lot with a 3-phase 400 volts adapter on it to plug power into it. And they wanted me to test it. I'm like, I want to test it, but I don't know what it is. Yeah. And they had to write down for me what it was called so I could put it on my report. Yeah. Didn't have a clue. Never seen one before in my life. Yeah. But I tested it because you test it just you test. It's simple. Yeah. You know, it's the same whether it's a kettle or it's that big, huge. It's an industrial extractor thing.
One of the 3 classes, isn't it?
Yeah, so that was how I got into it. But for the first year, I had to try and get myself up to the salary I was used to. So the first year, I worked part-time part testing, part-time as a delivery driver. So I just to deliver parcels. Now you see it everywhere, Amazon. You know that. But I worked for a company who used to, that basically was what came before Amazon, you know?
Yeah.
So so now you see Amazon drivers and you see a guy driving around your estate probably with a car full of parcels. I was the guy with the car full of parcels.
And there's absolutely no shame on that because you're building a business and you have to put in the effort, don't you? You've got a family to support, you've got a house to run, and there's no shame until you start building your business up. It does take time, especially with pat testing, because unlike a shop, you don't get people in and out of your shop every 5 minutes. Pat testing, once a year at best, or at best, if you've got a construction company, every 3 months, if you want it doing every 3 months.
I mean, I was quite lucky because at the time, where I lived at the time was sort of in a regeneration zone, and there was lots of grants, and the local authority had lots of grants, and they were chucking money at businesses. So I got into a course, like a 6-month training course for free, learning about business. No, it's still going on.
Sorry, you probably
just going
hear
over, by the way,
in the background that we're actually in a restaurant, and it's the only time I've managed to get hold of Richard because he's such a busy guy that we keep getting interrupted. So I'll let Richard carry on from there. Just to give you a bit of a background why you can hear music as well. So sorry, Richard, you got interrupted there.
Where was it? Yes, I got on this course.
Something I'll give you.
So sorry, carry on.
So I got on this course, and this course was probably the best thing that I did in business. I did a 6-month course where, no, it might have been a year's course. We basically, once every few weeks, we went and it was a bunch of about 20 different business people who were setting up different businesses.
Right.
And I went and did this course with a guy who coached us and taught us basic business skills from accountancy to marketing to things like that. And that was this was 2009. So this is the days where your main marketing was the Yellow Pages. You know, people were just starting to have websites really. You know, social media wasn't really a thing.
You did the legwork. You went out there and you saw customers. You went out around the town handing flyers out.
Social media wasn't really a thing. You know, you had a Facebook account, but everybody just still logged onto a laptop to look at it. And, you know, Twitter was the baby. The iPhone had just been invented, things like that. You know, we all had Blackberries. But I did that, and that course was excellent. It gave me a good platform to work from. I got grant funding for a website and things like that. But the reason why I mentioned that, I think for me, is the guy that coached that course became a friend, and ever since is like an unofficial mentor of mine. So that was 2009, and when that course stopped, me, him, and a couple of other guys started going out once a month, having lunch or breakfast or whatever, and we still do it to this day.
Brilliant.
And he's well retired now, but he worked in the pharmaceutical industry very high up for a very long time as a salesman and account manager and things like that, and he still gives us good advice today, even though he's been retired for 5 years or something. So
it's not always what you know, is it?
No,
you know,
so I
can help you.
I think how you get into it and how your business develops is you need a support network. You need people to support you, and that's kind of why PATTA exists. You need people to support you. I have him. I have another person who are like mentors.
Sure.
But you need lots of people around you. You know, like from an early stage, I had Tim, his business helped me get started. I worked for them as a contractor when I first got started, and Tony, who worked for him at the time, he gave us a lot of tips and helped us out. He helped us go from doing little jobs to big scale jobs, and then getting to know people. You know, yourself, Lee. You know, we've known each other for a very long time, and
2010, I think.
It's about the same time. So, and having that connection with people, having somebody you can talk to. Even if you only just see them once a year, you get stuff from them. You get little tidbits of information, which help.
You bounce these things off each other, don't you? Whether it's ideas or good practices. Yeah, brilliant. And what's been your best customer experience, or even your worst customer experience?
I'll start with worst.
Oh, you don't have to do both.
No, I'm doing both. worst, I think, comes down to experiences rather than experience, and it doesn't so much happen as much these days. But when you're starting out, or your diary's not full all the time,
You're right.
losing a job that
Yeah.
you worked hard to get, once you've got it, and it's in your diary and you've done it a few years, and then you lose it, and then choose to go somewhere else or whatever, you lose it.
Yeah.
That is your worst experience, because
It's
it's
quite
the
a
panic.
downer.
You think
Yeah.
you're thinking, oh crap, what am I going to do now? I've lost a week's worth of work or whatever,
Yeah.
and that's panic, and that is your worst experience. But as time goes on, that goes, because
Yeah. As one door
you lose
closes,
one,
another one
you
opens,
fill it straight
doesn't
away.
it? Yeah.
So I think that, and the odd ones that go bust, the bad experience. I wouldn't say I've had a worse or a really bad customer experience. Most
Sure.
time we get on absolutely fine with customers. I can't think of any major issues, but they're often customer related. That or when unfortunately people go bust and leave you with a big
Steve,
unpaid bill.
Steve on the committee, he was saying in one of the last podcasts we did, seeing that envelope come through the door saying, "I'm sorry, this company is now gone bankrupt or insolvent. You had this invoice outstanding. Sorry, you're not going to get paid for it." It's one of the most, even though we're not talking huge amounts of money, but even so, 80 quid, it still affects your bottom line, doesn't it?
You know,
it's still depressing.
You're saying that we had a job in the summer which was in Yorkshire, so one in our patch. So we had done it for years, but I was sick of us driving up to do it. So I used a subby for that job. He went and did it. Job was absolutely done great. Everything was sorted. Invoice went in, didn't get paid. We were fighting for the. Eventually, we only found this out a few weeks ago. We found out by the letter that they'd gone bust. The date they went bust was a week before they booked us to do the job.
Oh, seriously?
So they went in administration a week before they booked us to do the job. So they knew they were in administration when they booked us in. We went and did the job. We then didn't get paid. We've since had conversations with the managers of that firm. The firm went bust and reopened the next day under a different name. But they can't pay us because we billed the old name. And they want us to keep working for them. And they want us to go back next year.
Can you pay the last bill?
So I've said, fine, but next year you're paying up front and you're paying double up front.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, they're your worst experiences. But I think sometimes when people ask what's your worst customer experience, they're asking for a big complaint and things like that. And you get little niggles now and again, but I won't say anything major.
Yeah, that's fine.
Best experiences, I think,
go on. What's your best?
Are the opposite of that. It's when you get a big job or you get a big contract. Because everybody's in their area has got a company they want to work with. You know, I want to work with that. That's the
one. That's
the A grade client. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And we've got a few of them over the years. We work for travel companies. We work for like rail companies. We work for public sector buildings. We work for the police. We work for football clubs. We've worked for some famous people.
Yeah.
We've worked in some famous places. And they're your best experiences because you but them and every other job, because being a PATTA tester, it's unique, I think, to any other industry. I think it's the only job I can think of where you go to a place and they're giving you full access to every nook and cranny in their business.
I think
and you go into
places.
Places that nobody will ever go to. When we do the police, we go into sites for the police that even the police don't know exist. The Estates Department that we work for don't know some of the buildings exist that we work in. We've had to sign official secrets acts. We've had to sign non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah.
You get to go everywhere and you can see everything that nobody else sees. And you go into places
don't expect to see.
You go into places you don't. You go into horrible ones. You go into abattoirs and things like that. I've been into a swingers club. I've been into a lap dancing club. I mean, that job was probably about
that's not one of the
20
worst,
items.
though,
It took about 5 hours to do.
Was it 3 items to test? Was it?
I went in on a practice day. So it was a couple of bars and a DJ booth, but it took us all day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just access, wasn't it?
It's just the access, yeah. It's difficult.
Brilliant. So
But
what
yes,
you're basically saying is that starting a business, you're not going to expect to get these things straight away. It takes time, but those things will eventually come to you. Those targets you set, the police force, the strip club, or whatever it was.
the strip club was never a target. It was just a nice
job. It will come. It just takes time.
Yeah, it does. It all takes time, and it will come. And don't try and target the big job. Start small. Learn to walk before you can run.
Sure.
And build yourself up, and those big jobs will just naturally come eventually.
Yeah.
So for us, we've done National Trust properties, we've done big public buildings, we've done arenas.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So it's all exciting. It depends on your interest. What interests you?
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. So, Richard, what motivates you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Or can you offer? Do you offer any other services? What's your typical day looks like?
Okay. A motivation, the ultimate motivation, I think, is everybody's motivation. Really, is making sure that you're financially stable, comfortable, happy, have time to spend with your families, things like that. And when you run the business, that's quite. Some people it's very easy, some people it's very difficult. I became workaholic through this, and struggled to find the family time. But now I'm finding that more. But I've built a business which has left me financially stable. I don't have to worry too much about that anymore. My business is a place where I have time for family time now.
Excellent.
So
that's good.
So the motivation is getting there and staying at that
family.
level. It's family and happiness, really, comfortableness.
Absolutely.
And typical days, it used to be going out and PATTA test every day, all day, every day.
Yeah.
Now, I manage the company rather than work in it. I work on it rather than in it.
That's the hardest step to get over that, isn't it? From working in the company to actually directing it.
Now that I direct it, now that I work on it rather than in it, I have a lot more time on my hands, so I don't have to rush into the office anymore. If I wake up in the morning and I want to go to the gym, I can. My day is usually the same. I'll wake up about 6 o'clock in the morning, sort of daughter out for school, things like that. But between me and my wife, depending on who's doing what duty that day, I might get up and go to the gym then, or later on. We have dog surf to take the dogs out for a good half an hour walk before we do anything. And once I'm in the office,
it sounds
I like to have time. So I go to the gym. I like to have a sauna every day.
Yeah.
I like to have a coffee, chill, prepare myself. I get in the office generally about half 9, 10 o'clock now.
You're getting that work-life balance just right now.
I've found the work-life balance now. In the last few months, I've hit it perfectly.
Brilliant. That's really good to hear.
But it's took a long time to get there.
It does take a long time to get there.
Yeah. But typically now, I'm not usually in the office more than about 5 hours at a time.
Spot on.
What was the other one? You had another one?
What's the typical day?
No, there was one in the middle.
Other services? Yeah, what other services do you offer?
So the other services that we have, it's PAT testing was the main game. So is what else can we offer off the back of that? So PAT testing, everything to do with PAT testing is our main thing. And we also offer fixed wiring inspections. And that came easily because obviously we had all the clients, and then it was a case of just approaching those clients and getting the fixed wiring.
Perfect, yeah.
So we offer that. And then we offer also, off the back of that, we offer emergency light inspections as well. And that's our 3 main services at the moment.
Excellent. Yeah. Fantastic. The final golden nugget for us. What one piece of advice can you give our listeners? It can be anything from running the business, testing something in a particular way, or best place to buy a piece of equipment. What's your golden nugget for today?
I think the best piece of advice is work hard. Don't expect it to fall in your lap, because it won't. If you sit by the phone, wait for the ring, it won't ring. You've got to get out there and put 100% effort into every single thing you do. You know, whether that's marketing, networking, selling, whatever, it's got to be 100% effort. And if you don't give 100%, it won't work.
Absolutely. Do the donkey work.
Do the donkey work. Get out there, pound the streets. Introduce you to people. Introduce yourself to people. I mean, I always say to people when people are starting up, and they always say, "How did you get started?" And I always say, "Look at where you live. Look at what's around you. Look at the businesses around you. Go and knock on their doors. Go and talk to them. Get to know them. You know,
Start small.
do local networking,
Yeah.
and get your name out there and get people to know you, and you'll grow from there."
Brilliant. And that's brilliant. Thank you very much for coming along and doing this podcast with us. I never actually asked, what's the name of your pat testing business?
My pat testing business is DRA Pat Testing. My initials DRA Pat Testing.
There we go. Well, Richard, thank you very much for coming along today, and it's been a really interesting conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.